This is part 2 of day 2 with Mustang Stitch, my draw for the Kentucky Extreme Mustang Makeover. If you haven't already, go ahead and check out part 1 so you guys can watch these back to back and see the full day together. So to start our second session off, I'm going to go back and do some of the basic desensitizing that I have been doing with him, just to kind of get his brain in the right place, and also any chance I get to desensitize him and get him dead quiet to all this stuff, I'm going to take that opportunity. And as you can see, he is super calm, super content with this whip and the string rubbing all around him. It's getting swung over his back. It's making a noise swinging through the air, and he's standing completely still and relaxed, which I really liked to see. That was really awesome. And one of the big reasons that I'm emphasizing so much in all the desensitizing and getting him used to weird stuff all over his body is that if I get him so desensitized to all this crazy stuff that is so unnatural, and he's so quiet with all these crazy things, when it's time for my body to be on his back, that's just going to be another one of those things. So it's not going to be a big deal to him because he's already used to so many crazy things happening to him, and he's become so quiet and accepting. So when I put my body on him and I get on his back, it's so normal and it's not something for him to be worried about. So in a way, this is also preparing him for riding work as well as all that basic desensitization. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy.
Good. You're so smart. What do you think? Good. Or just bite it, that's fine. Good job, buddy. You. Same as before. Oh, I saddled him earlier. I don't remember if I told you. Oh, I probably switch part.
Do I still have a saddle that's in the way in there?
I put it on the door.
This one here? Okay. Thank you. Get that out of your way.
So he clearly has a little bit more spunk and energy to him this session, which is not a problem. I would rather see that than him being a deadhead where he just had no energy whatsoever. So I'm not going to discourage that. And this time I'm going to ask him for a canter, which I didn't before. And he has some baby crow hops in there, and instead of shutting him down, I'm going to let him work through it. I'm going to keep driving his feet forward and encourage him to keep moving forward. I don't want to just shut him down anytime he gives me some sort of answer. And even though it's crow hopping, that's still an answer he's trying to give me, and I don't want to discourage that. I don't want to discourage him trying and working through something. So instead of just shutting him down, I'm going to let him move his feet and work through it, and so he can start to realize that nothing bad's happening, and he can see that the right answer is just to move forward. I really don't like working them super hard in the beginning. A lot of trot and canter work just isn't what I like to do in the first few days. So all I want to see from him is that I can get a little bit of forward movement in each direction with no bucking and without him trying to turn into the fence. And as soon as I can see that he'll do that, I'm going to stop him and go back to walk work, because I really just don't want to do a lot of this forward movement beyond the walk. I don't want to do a lot of trot and canter work. I don't want to tire him out. He has a little bit of a cough from traveling, so I'm trying to avoid moving him super hard, and I really just want to see that he'll give me the right answer, and then I can just stop him and we can move forward and do something else. And so he's trotting forward really well here. He still has his moments where he tries to turn into the fence, but I just want to see that I can get a few canter steps out of him with no bucking and no stopping. And then as soon as I can see that from him, I'm going to ask him to stop. He had a nice few canter strides, but then he broke down to stop into the fence, which is what I just don't want to see. And so right about here is when he starts getting that nice forward canter that I want. I wanted to stop him and turn him into me right in that spot that he keeps turning into the fence, because that way it's the opposite of what he's been doing. And so that's all I wanted to see from him. Now we're done with any of the trot and canter work. It was more than I even wanted to do, but it's what was needed to help him through it. So from there, we're just going to move on to something else. So now one of the last things that I'm going to do with him is I'm going to do some ground driving or long lining, whatever you want to call it. And I have it attached to the halter. He does not have a bit in. I'm going to start him in a halter, and once he's more broke and developed, I'll put a bit on him. And right off the bat, I'm just going to flex him and get him to be calm before I start asking him to move forward. He had a moment of panic, and I just want him to be nice and relaxed. So I'm going to just encourage him to turn into the fence and disengage his haunches around, and then just get forward movement as he can. And once he's moving forward, I'm not too worried about holding him back or trying to control his speed. I just want to make sure that he can keep moving out on the rail and just have forward movement. And so if he picks up a trot, I'm not going to worry about stopping him. I just want him to have forward movement and not get stuck, which is a habit that he has that we're going to be working through during this. And this is preparing him for when I get on him that he has at least some sense of what halter pressure means. So right here I ask for a stop and he does really well, except he tries to turn his head into me. So I'm just going to use my outside rein and redirect his head forward, and then get behind his drive line and try and encourage him to walk forward again. And that's just a correction for when he wanted to turn into me. We just want to keep that forward movement going. When he stops, we don't want him to turn, we just want him to stop straight. This exercise is really good for riding prep because when you get on them, they're already going to know how to turn and stop. They won't be advanced with it, but they at least have an idea instead of you just getting on and they have to figure everything out once you're on them. So this is some prep work that just gives him an idea of what to expect later on. And like I said before, if he starts to pick up the speed on his own and start going into a trot, I'm not going to stop him. I'm going to let him keep that forward movement going. And right here, I'm starting to ask him to turn off the rail just to test how well his steering really is. And so we just did a little circle there, and he did really well. He kept his forward movement going at the walk, and he didn't get stuck. He's moving his head around just a little bit to try and figure out the pressure on his halter, because even when there's a release, there's at least a little bit of weight on his halter. So that's the reason why he's shaking his head a bit. And when he gets stuck there, I just encourage him to go forward. And anytime he gets stuck, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and make sure he can keep moving forward. So this is the last bit of footage I got of the long lining before my camera died. We did one more circle off the rail, and he was shaking his head a little bit, but like I said, I'm trying my best to stay off of his face and just encourage him to move forward so he can figure it out. And we only did about 5 more minutes of that, and he figured it out really well and did really good. So after the long lining, I put him up and gave him some time in his stall and then some tying time. And then about an hour and a half later, we went in for session 3 and I resaddled him and we decided to go ahead and get on him for the first time. He was doing very well. He was super quiet, and the work jumping around him before made him very quiet to my movement. So he was not too worried about me when I started jumping up next to him to put weight in the stirrup and lifting myself onto him. And so I'm just getting him used to me putting weight in the stirrup and rubbing on him. I'm turning his nose into me just a little bit, and then I just swing up onto him, and I'm going to get him used to me being up there and rubbing all over him, and just make sure he's super comfortable. Instead of getting on him and then right away asking him to move out and make it hard for him and make it work, I'm just going to rub on him and get him super comfortable and let him see that there's nothing wrong with what I'm doing. I'm not scary. I'm going to sit up there and just rub on him, wiggle around a little bit and do some desensitizing. And then after I rub on him for a bit, I'm going to get off so he knows that that first time I got on him, it wasn't anything hard. It wasn't anything that entailed work. It was just super easy and quiet. And now that I've been on him, I rubbed on him and I got off, I'm going to go ahead and go on him a second time And I'm going to start out doing the same thing. When I get on, I'm going to rub on him a lot, and then I'm going to start asking for very minor work from him. I want him to just move his butt around each direction. I'm not going to look for forward movement. I just want to know that I can turn his nose, look at his butt, and apply a little bit of pressure and just get him to disengage his haunches around. I'm not worrying about him going forward. I don't want him to work hard today, so I don't want him to have to start walk, trot, cantering under saddle. I just want that butt to disengage and to see how he feels with me on him. He's being super good, and I'm making sure I rub on him quite a bit so he knows that everything's okay, and it's just my way of checking in with him. And since he's been doing so well, and he moved his haunches around right away, and he did really good with that, I'm just taking the time to rub on him and make sure he's super comfortable, and just let him know that it's all okay, and then I'm up there, and it's not scary. Everything else that we were doing is scarier than what I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to go the other direction and flex his head and look towards his butt and start disengaging that haunches again. And as soon as he gets that step around, I'm going to release on him. That was really good, and that's exactly what I was looking for. And if I keep asking for too much and I don't give him any form of release or reward, he's just going to get super sour and not realize that he was giving me the right answer. So I have to make sure that my timing's good with that, and as soon as he gives me the right answer, I reward him, just so he knows that he's doing the right thing. And I really like giving him a buffer in between each thing that we do so that he doesn't think it's just constant work and he's constantly having to give me something. I want to make sure that he knows that he can take a minute to pause and just get rewarded. So right there, he's super good. He disengaged his haunches around. That was exactly what I wanted to see. Rubbing on him again because he's being such a good boy. And I'm super happy with him and how he's doing. So I'm just going to get one more time disengaging to the right before I get off of him. He's a little bit stickier to this side, but he gives me a really good disengagement right there. And so I'm going to release and just go back to rubbing on him. And that's all I wanted to see from him with me getting on him. I didn't want anything spectacular or special. I just wanted to see that he could disengage both ways and that he was comfortable with me up there, and he does not have a care in the world. I didn't want it to be hard work. I didn't want to get on him and run him into the ground. I try to avoid that completely, and especially the first few days of working with a new Mustang, I don't want them working hard. I want everything to be easy going. So he did really well. So now I'm going to get him ready for me to get off of him. And I'm going to wiggle around, turn his nose into me. If I wiggle around, then he's ready for me to make that big motion of swinging off. And that was it for day 2. So that's everything we did on day 2. It was a pretty busy day, and after this we're going to take it pretty easy for another day or two. But I was super proud of how he handled everything that we did. It was a lot, and he's a really good mind on him. And I didn't do enough where it would overwhelm him. I spread it out throughout the day, and I made sure everything was low energy. So overall it was a really great training day, and I'm super proud of how he's doing for day 2. And I'll continue posting his journey on here for you guys. I'm really looking forward to sharing each step of the way with you.